Good evening. My name is Teresa Hardy. I'm the president of the NAACP Dekalb County branch. We welcome you to our Georgia Senate virtual forum. Our forum is for all the Senate candidates that have opposition. We did not do it so that you're opponent to opponent. It is to get information on your vision for the role. And we wanted to kind of educate our audience on what you plan to do if you're elected to the role. So our moderator tonight is Tharon Johnson, and our co-host is Lance Hammonds, right? So, and then our timekeeper is Edwina Clanton, our third vice president. So we will go ahead and get started. And I will hand it off to Mr. Lance Hammond, our first vice president.
Thank you, President Hardy. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you tonight as the co-host. And my first duty is to introduce our moderator, Mr. Tharon Johnson. Tharon is a very accomplished, highly sought after political strategist. He's the CEO of Paramount Consulting. He also served as the National Southern Regional Director for the Obama campaign. And where I know him best at is on the Georgia gang. We meet up every Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. with coffee. So with that being said, I just want to welcome my good friend Tharon Johnson. And Tharon, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Lance. I really appreciate those kind words of introduction. And thank you so much for your support of the Georgia gang. I want to give a special shout out to the DeKalb County NAACP. You guys have welcomed me back to moderate my second forum. So Nadine, Edwina, Teresa, and others, you guys must have thought I did a good job on the first one that you allowed me to come back. But I just want to start by thanking the NAACP for being the organization that's always in the front line when it comes to criminal justice, equality, and criminal justice. And a lot of different things that you guys are working on. So I want to thank you all so much for your continued support in the community. So I just kind of want to give you guys the ground rules. I see we've had a few more candidates join. So we're going to do 20 minutes of introductions. So each candidate running for different Senate districts, you'll have 20 minutes to introduce yourselves. And so I think we'll give each candidate roughly about 2 minutes, Nadine and Edwina, if that's okay. So if we have 10 candidates on, each candidate will get 2 minutes. And then we'll go through sort of a 40 to 45 minute conversation with different questions that I will present to you all. And bear with me, each candidate will only have a minute to answer. And so we're gonna be really, really strict about this minute because we got a lot of candidates who are on, and we want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity to answer. And then we're going to, at the end, we're going to give each candidate 1 minute, and I'll stress 1 minute of closing remarks. And so you see Edwina sort of flashing her iPad. If you guys are not on the format where you can see everyone, she's going to be a strict timekeeper. And so we want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to answer. And so with that being said, I think we have Senate districts 10, 40, 41, 43, and 44. So this is what I'm going to do. I know we have some incumbents, so I don't want the incumbents to be mad at me. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start by going with Senate District 10. And after that, we're going to go for 40, 41, and 43, and then 44. So if you're in Senate District 10, we're going to start with you to introduce yourself. You'll have right at about, I think we said we're going to give everyone 2 minutes to sort of introduce themselves, and then we'll go to Senate District 40, 41, and then 43, and then 44. So does everyone understand? Does anyone have any questions?
No, it's clear to me.
All right, Senator Jones. Senator Jones, I see you join. I see you.
Yes.
So good to see you, brother. All right, we're going to start with Senate District 10.
Well, thank you. First of all, let me thank the NAACP and Tharon for you all for hosting this event. Good to be here, free from COVID-19, I may add. I am State Senator Emanuel Jones, and I've served the 10th District for the last 16 years. And of course, I am a candidate for re-election for my district, and I would appreciate the support as well. Got to ask that. And the time that I spent in the General Assembly, I've devoted a lot of my time to DeKalb County. The current SPLOST was a bill that I passed. That SPLOST tax is $650 million and is going to be leveraged upwards of $1 billion for DeKalb County. If you go way back prior to that, at least a decade ago, I was the one who passed the bill in DeKalb County, the local legislation that changed the current form of government. And of course, here recently, I championed ethics reform in DeKalb County. Senate District 10, 70% of it is in DeKalb County, 30% of it is about DeKalb County. And I think I've been a strong advocate for those that have elected me to the 10th District. And once I get reelected, I can certainly guarantee you that I will continue to be that strong advocate. I've served on several committees, appropriation being one, and Veteran Military Affairs being another, and Finance and Economic Development being another committee that I currently serve on. I am the Vice Chair of the DeKalb Senate Delegation. I'm sorry, I'm the Chair of the DeKalb Senate Delegation. I'm the Vice Chair of the Democratic Senate Delegation. And there's other positions of leadership that I've held throughout the General Assembly, and that a lot of other work that I've done, from the work that I continue to do as chair of the Emma King Advisory Council, which hosts the state celebration for Dr. King. So thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to be heard.
Thank you, Senator. I really appreciate it. Are any candidates from Senate District 10?
Yes, sir. Maurice Raeford.
Okay, Maurice, go ahead.
Yes, I'm ready when you are. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maurice Raeford. I am running for Senate District 10, as stated before. My main focus is to bring politics back to the community, where individuals have transparency. We're able to understand what's going on prior to it happening, with such bills as when we had the abortion bill, and being able to know what's going to happen in the community accessibility. I've been a resident of DeKalb County on and off for the past 20 years. I went to Cedar Grove Middle and MLK High School, and my daughter currently goes to school in the DeKalb County area at Chapel Hill. So one of the biggest things that I've seen is the transition from when I left and when she's there, similar processes. And so my biggest thing is to be able to make the whole Senate District 10 see development through different, as far as analytics, being able to see different aspects as far as job development, community development, and making stimulus packages so that our small businesses can grow and transpire within the current condition that we have, such as COVID-19. DeKalb County is one of the most affected areas by this epidemic, not only for health reasons, which is especially Medicaid, but also economic reasons. So when we come out of this, it's going to be issues that are going to be everlasting, similar to the 2008 housing crisis. And my thing is to pass policies where we're able to get ahead of things like this, and we're able to advance DeKalb County, Henry County, and also parts of Gwinnett County. And that's why I think I make a good candidate for Senate District 10. Also, I can be reached at mauricefforthecommunity@gmail.com. Thank you, and I hope to hear from y'all soon.
All right, thank you, Maurice. I really appreciate that. Are any other candidates for Senate District 10? Okay, we're gonna go to Senate District 40.
Hello, my name is Gary Guan. I'm running for State Senate District 40, which covers all three counties. However, DeKalb County is a major portion of the district, and it's across 8 different municipalities, ranging from Sandy Springs, Dunwoody, Darville, Chambly, Brookhaven, Tucker, and Norcross Peachtree Corners. And it's one of the widely diverse, ethnically diverse district in the state, if not in the nation. And you know, along that beautiful highway, that without a passport, you can pretty much taste all the world. And as diverse as the ethnically in the district, it's also very diverse economic different area and different interests across the district. So I'm running as one of the diverse member, and I think it's about time for our state to have people who represent the people who look like them. And I want to add this perspective. And I'm an immigrant from China originally. And as you know, it's in 1987, I pretty much escaped the socialist country and came to this land of opportunity and adopt this new home and take America as my own country. So I, as we often say, I'm an American by choice. And I'm running for the office for multiple reasons. One is trying to be representative of this diverse member of this fabric that formed this great state. It's about 4% of Asian Americans, but also hopefully this is going to be also inspiration to all the new immigrants that once they become a U.S. citizen, and they should realize that we are part of this community as a member of this.
Mr. Guan.
And I know in my district, it's
Mr.
a
Guan,
lot.
we're gonna have to cut you off, okay?
And, it's my time is up.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be fair to you because Senator Jones would definitely call me out if I don't cut you off.
The screen runs off.
All right, thank you so much. All right, any other candidates for Senate District 40? All right, we're going to go over to Senate District 41.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having the host. My name is William Freeman. I was born in the city of Atlanta. My family moved us to DeKalb County when I was 2 years old, a very long time ago. And I've been in the county ever since, except for my military service. I'm a product of the DeKalb County school system. I'm a Red Devil from Druid Hills. And I got my undergraduate degree at Georgia State University. I've lived in the 41st Senate District since 1991. My jobs, I've never held any political positions before. I served in the Georgia Army National Guard and U.S. Army Reserves for over 30 years. And except for, and I did 3 combat tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I got out with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel back in 2015. I also have I served in the military as both as a part-timer and a full-timer. And I also have extensive experience in the retail business and in property management. I have, since retiring, volunteered the last 3 election cycles as a co-manager at my precinct polling station. And on the personal side, I've been married for 28 years to the former Diane Benke. We have 2 grown children, and they're both products of the DeKalb County school system. I'm looking for this position because I want to continue my community service, both for the 41st District and the state of Georgia. And I'll be ready for the questions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. All right, any other candidates for District 41?
Hi. Hi, first of all, I want to thank the NAACP Dekalb and Tharon and Lance for hosting this. It's a pleasure to be able to be with you all speaking despite the circumstances from afar. I am Kim Jackson and I'm running for Senate District 41. And I am running because I want to help make Georgia a safer, ultimately a more just and a more prosperous place. So currently I work as a pastor and I've served in the Metro Atlanta area for the last 10 years as a priest, and my current position is that I work with a congregation in which 90% of my members are experiencing homelessness. It's a 90% of my congregants will sleep on the streets. And so I have a deep and longstanding commitment to justice issues in the city, in the county as well. And so I'm running to bring that information, to bring that background to bear in the state Senate. The moment that I knew and I was clear that I wanted to make this step to run for Senate was when I worked with a group of 10 women. We went to Representative Holcomb around issues about rape kits sitting on shelves in hospitals not being treated, not being tested. And the 10 of us went to him and to some other folks and asked for some assistance in getting a bill passed so that those rape kits would ultimately be counted and tested. And so on the last night of Sine Die, that bill passed. And as the cheers went up and streamed down the face, I was clear that I felt at 13 that I was called to change the world, and that one of the ways that I wanted to change the world was by running for office. So that's a portion of why I'm running, and I look forward to answering other questions as they come. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Any other candidates for Senate District 41? Okay, we're going to go to Senate District 43. We're going to start with Senator Anderson.
I saw someone raised their hand, Tharon.
I'm sorry.
Did I see Beverly Jones?
Oh, is Beverly Jones on? I didn't see her. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm not for certain.
Are you there, Beverly?
She's muted. She's waving her hand.
On mute.
Okay, because I want to make sure y'all bring me back, because, the last debate, Nadine and Edwin, was fair. I want to make sure everyone get a chance to.
She's Galaxy A10E.
Okay.
Oh, that's the one I kept saying, change your name. We don't, Miss Beverly.
Yes.
Okay. We needed your name on it. I didn't know it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Beverly Jones, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to be at this wonderful forum today. And I just want to say that this is a fantastic opportunity for me. I was raised in Japan and Okinawa and the Philippines, and traveled all around the US. I'm pretty much an Air Force brat. And I've had lots of experience with a diverse form of people. And one of the reasons why I wanted to run for the Senate is because I was on the Stone Mountain City Council. And it was an enormous experience. It was an opportunity to get to know people, policies, procedures. And I also work with some of the senators that are presently in the seat right now. I have my degree in a PhD in theology and a doctorate in Christian counseling. I do prison reform with women. I changed their lives in a transitional tone. And I just thought, well, gosh, if I can do all of this for women who's been incarcerated for 20, 25 years, with my experience as a Stone Mountain City Council member, what can I do for these cities? And I think that I can do great things for the 5 cities that I like to represent. Reform, jobs, education. I have experience around making policies and procedures. So I think that this opportunity would be an extraordinary experience for me and the constituents. And most importantly, I am an organizer. I put community gardens and work with navigators for healthcare, which is something that I'm very passionate about, as well as education reform. So with this opportunity, I know that I can change these districts for the better. And thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll answer the questions later.
All right, thank you so much, Beverly. I really appreciate it. All right, anyone else from Senate District 41? All right, we're going to go to Senate District 43 with Senator Anderson.
Greetings and good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Anderson, and I am the state senator for Senate District 43. Covers portions of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton. I am a lifetime resident of DeKalb. I've been in DeKalb for 26 years, been in Georgia 26 years, and I've only lived in DeKalb County. I've been a member of the NAACP since 8 years old, growing up, born and raised in Florida, and I have just kept my membership active even to today. and I appreciate my upbringing in the NAACP. So thank you for hosting this forum. Thank you to our co-hosts. Shout out to Tharon Johnson and Georgia Gang again and again. Thank you. My background is pretty much civic organizations, community engagement. I started out in public policy in 2006 as a city councilwoman in Lithonia. Then I became mayor, and that door closed, and I became state rep for the same area, and now state senator. And along the way, I have introduced policy for affordable health care, fought for living wages, and at the end of the day, fighting for criminal justice reform. Just introduced a bill, Senate Bill 288, which would allow for those convicted who have misdemeanors and non-violent felonies to have their records sealed, expunged, and so we're looking to put people back to work, back to school, and to have housing. So I appreciate the opportunity to work with my colleagues, Senator Davenport and Senator Emanuel Jones, as we continue to push DeKalb, to propel DeKalb to a healthy DeKalb. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to continuing to serve.
All right, thank you so much, Senator Anderson. All right, anyone else from Senate District 43?
Yes.
All right, Melanie Williams.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me tonight, and it is an honor to be here to ask or to answer questions. My name is Melanie Williams. I am running for a Republican State Senate District 43. I was born and raised in Gainesville, Georgia. I've been a DeKalb County resident for 30 years. I have over 30 years of multi-family, commercial, residential real estate experience, and I have over 30 years of commercial budgeting. I hold an associate degree from Columbia Southern University, and right now I am furthering my education with Oral Roberts University in Christian Leadership and Business Management. The reason why I'm running for state senate is I believe in good public policy that is not crafted to harm our communities, but to bring about change and the betterment of our community, to bring quality education, quality and affordable health care, and economic development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Melanie. All right, anyone else from Senate District 43? Okay, all right, we're gonna go to Senate District 44. So we're gonna start with Senator Davenport.
Thank you very much. I'm State Senator Gail Davenport. I represent portions of Clayton County and portions of DeKalb County. I'm a Grady baby, and of course I grew up here in Jonesboro in Clayton County, a product of the Clayton County Public Schools. I'm a graduate of Spelman College, and real estate agent by trade because I believe in the democracy and housing and affording people to have the American dream of home ownership. I was a delegate to the Democratic National Convention back in 1988, pledged to Reverend Jesse Jackson, and then again in 2004 and 2008 and 12, pledged to President Barack Obama. I'm a member of Andrews Chapel United Methodist Church here in Jonesboro, where I've been the former chair of the trustee board and also a vice chair of the United Methodist Women in the Griffin District. I have served in the Georgia State Senate for a number of years. I presently serve on the Appropriations Committee, the Retirement Committee, Natural Resources, and in the Environment, of course, Urban Affairs, and then State Institutions and Properties. And I certainly believe that it is important for everyone that we have a good quality of life. And that's what I always propose to bring to the district, for everyone to have a good quality of life. I have been a strong advocate, or I should say I fight for the people in my district. First of all, I listen to them, to the constituents, and then I fight for them, fight on their behalf every day at the Georgia State Capitol. And then when we're out of session, I believe in stamping out poverty, first of all, and believe in having good health care. And we've been fighting for years for the affordable health care and to expand Medicaid. And then also to have the minimum wage raised. I'm out of time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. I really appreciate it. You know, I didn't want to cut you off, but I got to be fair. All right, anyone else from Senate District 44 that's a candidate?
Yes, Myah Johnson.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Myah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Myah Johnson, and I'm running for state senator in District 44. My background, my educational background is in political science and sociology. I worked as a federal representative for Congressman David Scott's office for 10 years, where I've had the opportunity to handle federal, state, and legislative matters. Regarding the Georgia's Hardest Hit Fund program, I did help Congressman David Scott to change some of those guidelines, therefore allotting more Clayton County Georgians to become approved for that particular program. The reason why I want to run for state senator in our district is to reduce unemployment and underemployment. I want to work with Commissioner Mark Butler to do that. I see a lot of people in our community that are underemployed or unemployed. Sex trafficking is also a major issue, not just in our district, but it's a national issue here in Georgia. What I would like to do is actually create a national sex trafficking task force to put at Clayton County Hartsfield International Airport to handle that situation and deter sex trafficking. Gang violence is on the rise here in our district. We need a gang task force also to handle that particular issue. So those are my main issues that if I'm elected that I want to work on here in our district. Our children are our leaders, and in order for them to be true leaders, we need to work with them, and we need to bring leadership opportunities and work with our lead and help them to become those leaders. And I don't see any of that here in Clayton County or DeKalb County. I've actually spoken with the police chiefs. I've done the research that needs to be done. I don't see any of that, and my passion is to change that. So that's why I'm running for state senator for this district. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else from Senate District 44? I want to make sure we got everyone included. I don't want to miss anyone. All right, so what we're going to do is, guys, we're going to go through a series of questions, and the president, Hardy, has given me the liberty to sort of mix this up a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm not going to be able to ask everyone the same exact question, so I'm going to mix it up a little bit, but I think it would be the right decision to start in Senate District 10. So we're going to start with Senator Jones and Mr. Raeford. So I'm going to go to you first, Senator Jones. With COVID-19, you know, this has been something that has sort of shocked us all and it's stalled many campaigns and some candidates that have chosen to use their funds or platform to help communities they wish to serve. I want to know, what have you been doing to help our communities through this crisis? And we're going to go to Senator Jones first, and we'll go to Mr. Raeford afterwards.
But thank you. I just championed a program between Ride Clean, which is a division of Cox Automotive, and we were able to put together a partnership with DeKalb County. That partnership included sanitizing and decontaminating well over 240 public service vehicles with DeKalb County. Ride Clean donated their services, as well as donated the material, which kills 99.9% of all viruses, to include COVID-19. That's just one aspect of looking at our frontline employees, our frontline workers, and of course, working with DeKalb County on addressing a concern, a major concern that had to be done in order to protect our frontline employees. In addition to that, I've held meetings with certain key individuals throughout the county, and not just DeKalb, but also Henry County as well, particularly the church leaders and those that in the circle of influence. We have preached repeatedly the importance of staying at home, as well as other aspects of fighting this virus. So thank you, and certainly open to any other questions.
All right, thank you, Senator. All right, Mr. Raeford.
With that, the biggest thing is we've been in the house quarantining for basically the entire time. So as far as what I've done to contribute with that, I would just say being vocal, informing individuals, younger people to stay in the house, keeping up to date as far as my social medias, as far as what's going on with the COVID-19. And one of the biggest misconceptions when it first started was that it didn't affect young people. So me being younger, I was able to communicate the effects of it and taking it back to older folks and what that would cause. Also, at the same time, still maintaining relationships with younger individuals as far as mentoring, still maintaining my mentoring relationships that I have going on via virtual forums.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to go to Senate District 44. So Senator Davenport, I'm going to come to you first. This is a question that I want to ask you. So considering that, our district is increasingly becoming more diverse with the majority of residents being families of color, DeKalb needs leadership that is actively working to change our communities now rather than waiting until after the election. So the specific question to you and Mrs. Johnson is, outside of your career obligations, what initiatives have you organized to help communities of color in your district?
One of the things that I've always done is to make sure that we have employment in the county. And a few years ago, we had Moderator to come to our county. And the first thing I did was organize a job fair with Moderator for people there. And we had over 400 people who attended that job fair to make sure that we get jobs. What I do now and what I've done since COVID-19 is to organize with Community Outreach and Action, which is a food bank, to get unemployed workers weekly food baskets. And also one of my senior citizens making masks for persons. So we give out masks and we also give out food weekly. And in the community, I think the children need to be involved. So each year we have summer programs, and we have things for children. And we also call the Clayton County Board of Commissioners to make sure that we can get jobs for our students. My time is out.
Okay, thank you, Senator. And all right, we're gonna go to Miss Myah Johnson next.
Sure. So what I do in the community to help the community at the present is I go out and donate clothing. I donate masks. I work with Clayton County System of Care too, where we actually provide therapy and mentoring to the students too. So we donate canned goods and anything that we can to help individuals within the community. And that's just not DeKalb County, that's Clayton as well. That's all over.
Okay. You got 30 more seconds. You okay with that answer, or do you need a little bit more time?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you for giving us back that time. Okay, so the next question, we're going to go to Senate District 41. And I want to start with Mr. Freeman. And so the question is, would you support legislation crafted to reduce workers' compensation costs for small businesses? We know that in DeKalb County, small businesses are the backbone to our state economy. So again, would you support legislation crafted to reduce workers' compensation costs for small businesses?
Yes, I would support anything that would lower government mandates, particularly on smaller businesses. It would free them up to have the funds to be able to hire more people and to make their business prosper. So yes, the devil's in the details. So, I mean, I would have to look at the fine print of what this actually means. I mean, if you lower the cost of workers' compensation for small business, what would it do? How would it affect the compensation? So, my first reaction is yes, I would support reducing it, but I'd also want to see what the potential consequences would be if it was actually enacted.
All right, thank you so much. All right, next we're going to go to Ms. Kim Jackson, and then we're going to come to you, Mrs. Beverly Jones. So Kim, go first, and then Beverly.
Sure. So absolutely, small businesses are the backbone of our county and of Georgia and of our nation. However, workers in those small businesses are actually the backbones. And so I wouldn't want to do anything that would harm Georgia's workers. If lowering the cost of compensations, if that can still make sure that workers are able to have a solid salary, if it doesn't impact their health insurance benefits and things like that, then I would absolutely support the alleviating that burden for small business owners. But again, fundamentally, I stand with workers, working people, and believe that we have to do everything that we can to ensure that their wages are protected. And in fact, I would actually stand with Senator Davenport and advocate that we increase wages for low-wage workers to bring a living wage to $15 an hour at the bare minimum. So that's my response to that question. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Mrs. Jones?
Yes. Small businesses, as everyone has said, is certainly the backbone of America. However, your employees is the most valuable asset that you have. And many times with small businesses, they cannot compete with major corporations. So therefore, the employees are working for far less in terms of salaries, wages, benefits. So I think that we need to give them workman's compensation as well, because they have accidents and they have issues just like anyone else in a major corporation. And when you get rid of the small man, you're going to get rid of the small businesses. And again, they have been the makeup of America. So I definitely support not taking away the workman's compensation.
All right, thank you so much for the answer. And I want to encourage everyone who's watching, please submit your questions in our chat. We're going to have a brief, and I stress brief because we got so many candidates, round of questions from our audience. And so I encourage you all to submit your questions in the chat. All right, so we're going to go over now to Senate District 43 with Senator Anderson. And the question is, would you support or oppose increasing the benefit amount paid to unemployed workers? Senator, you know that we have a lot of Georgians right now who have had to file for unemployment because of COVID-19. So again, the question is, would you support or oppose increasing the benefit amount paid to unemployed workers?
I would definitely support increasing the benefit for unemployed workers. Right now we are in a crisis, and no one asked for this to happen, and people, that this is beyond anyone's control. But folks still have to live. They still have to maintain households. They still have to be able to provide for their families. So I would definitely support it and defend it to the degree that people are in a safe place of living and being able to take care of their families. Additionally, as we want to support that, we also want to encourage job skills and job skills training and anything that can help people get back on their feet and get to a better place than where they were before. So I definitely would.
All right, thank you so much, Senator. All right, I want to go to Melanie Williams next.
Yes, I would support extending payments to unemployed workers of Georgia. This pandemic is no fault of their own. So I do think that they deserve some type of, I guess, burden relief to make sure they can take care of their families, pay their bills. If any type of medical issues come about, you know, they're gonna need to be able to afford health care, especially the ones who are uninsured. So I would support extending those benefits to those unemployed workers, and, you know, and just making sure that they are taken care of during this pandemic.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, now we're gonna go to Senate District 40, and Mr. Gary Guam, I didn't forget about you, brother. I'm gonna come to you. So this, no problem. This question is for you. So if the state continues to develop a health insurance exchange, and I want to repeat this, if the state continues to develop a health insurance exchange, would you support the state funding its operational costs rather than increasing insurance benefits to do so? So again, I'm going to repeat the question. If the state continues to develop a health insurance exchange, would you support the state funding its operational costs rather than increasing insurance premiums to do so?
This is a very good question and a very interesting one. To most of the voters that I know, it's on their mind, one of the major concerns. As I mentioned previously, my district is very diverse. However, this is an issue that across the entire district, almost all the communities have the same concern. And I would certainly support that the state cover the operation part instead of raising the insurance premium. And that's the quickest answer. And of course, I would also need to further explore all the other potentially options and also anything that associate. One of the things I have learned in the past is the unintended consequences. So I got to watch out for that too.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the answer. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a question from our audience, and we got a lot of people tuned in. So thank you all so much for tuning in to this DeKalb County NAACP forum. And so I want to be fair and try to answer a couple questions. And I think this next question, we're going to go back to Senate District 10. We're going to start with you, Senator Jones. And we're going to give Mr. Raeford an opportunity to answer this question. What will you do our DeKalb Ethics Board fully staffed and operational? I repeat, what would you do to get our DeKalb Ethics Board fully staffed and operational? Senator Jones.
Well, I would do what we did this past year, pull together the members from the Senate and House of Representatives so that we can pass comprehensive legislation that makes the changes that are required to gain the support of all DeKalb Countyans. This bill that was lost last year, less than 10% of those registered voters in DeKalb County voted on the bill. We've gone back to the drawing board. We put together a team that's working on coming up with comprehensive legislation so that we can have the very best ethics department in DeKalb County. I am committed to the ethics effort. I'm committed to ensuring that we have strong ethics in DeKalb County. And let us not forget, this ethics legislation affects every elected official in DeKalb County. We cannot afford to get it wrong. As you recall, the current ethics legislation that was passed by the community was tossed out because of the way members were appointed on that committee. We changed that in the legislation that passed this past year. We modified that. And we're going to go back to the drawing board, and we're going to continue to work so that we can gain the support of all the members of DeKalb County. It is my expectation that come November that we would have some legislation, and we were doing that prior to us being suspended because of COVID-19, by the way, that we can put back on the ballot. The initial legislation was passed by referendum. The current legislation that's going to modify it has to be passed by referendum. We don't have a choice.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Edwin, I'm looking at you now to keep me right on this time, okay? Because I know a lot of these candidates have their supporters tuned in, and I don't want to give anybody an opportunity to respond. So we're going to go to you, Mr. Raeford.
Yes, to piggyback off of what Senator Emanuel Jones was saying, basically to work with the House and the Senate to get it passed through referendum. One of the biggest things that needs to happen to keep it fully staffed is community members involved. Creating polls where our community members state what they need and what they see as far as ethics, but we also need a balancing act with the ethics board, where it's not just elected officials, it's also people that have different interests where there's counteracting of that, where everything's not agreement, but we can use people who necessarily don't agree with us, but also making it where it comes full circle, but just basically getting it on referendum, getting it passed, and getting it where the community wants to vote for it. Last time it didn't pass. It passed in my district, but it didn't pass in other districts. So finding out where those loopholes are, where they need to fulfill to make this something that they would want.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to take a little liberty here, and I think President Hardy wants me to do this. And so I'm going to come to Senate District 44. And I'm going to start with you, Senator Davenport. I know you have a long history of working with the Rainbow Push and all the work that you've done in Georgia, but the DeKalb County NAACP traveled down to Brunswick, Georgia this weekend. And I know President Hardy was communicating with me sort of hourly about the tragic event that we saw happen down there with Ahmaud Arbery. And so you have Speaker Ralston, who's come out today, who said that he wants to see a hate crime bill sort of move through the legislature with no delay and no amendments. And so, Senator, you're in the Senate, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. I think this hate crimes bill is coming to the Senate. And so my question is to you, and I'm going to also give Mrs. Johnson an opportunity to answer, is do you think Georgia needs a hate crime bill? And if so, what do you think that bill needs to entail?
I definitely thank you. I definitely think that we need a hate crime bill. We've been pushing one for many years. I think this particular bill has passed the House and in the Senate. I think it's in committee and Senator Stone's committee. But I think that we need to have strong legislation and strong words in there to say that it is a crime, and people who abuse it needs to atone for it. Those people need to be punished for it. We can no longer have people running around as vigilantes, taking the law into their own hands, and really it's about racism. This is what it's about. I live in Clayton County, grew up here. We have not been fair. We have not been treated fairly as people of color. And I really think that we need to have a strong legislation and strong language in there that says people will be, persons will be accountable for their actions, and they will be punished for their actions if they go out and use racism and racist acts.
Thank you, Senator. All right, thank you so much. I'm sorry to cut you off. Don't punish me when you send me down to Capitol. But definitely want to make sure we keep the time commitment. All right, we'll go to Myah Johnson next.
Yes, I do agree that we need hate crime laws. If we can actually prove that a hate crime was committed, whether against a person that's been murdered or a gay person and things of that nature, I do agree that hate crimes need to be implemented. And that's one of the things that I would like implemented if I'm elected into state senate. I do agree with that, because too many crimes have taken place where people have gotten off, where it has been proven that it's been a hate crime. So we do need to actually create legislation and make that a precedent for people to adhere to. I do agree with that.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're going to go to Senate District 41, and we're going to take another question from our audience. And again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and thank you so much for posting your questions. And so we're going to start with Mrs. Jones, and then we're going to go to Ms. Jackson, and then Mr. Freeman. And so the question from our audience is, what kind of legislation would you support if we go through a second wave of COVID-19 in the fall? I'll repeat the question. What kind of legislation would you support if we go through a second wave of COVID-19 in the fall?
Well, first and foremost, I hope we don't go to a second wave, but in the event that it does, we must be vigilant that this virus is a killer. And we must have tougher laws in terms of people and safety. Safety should also come first. It should consist with going with the CDC guidelines in terms of the distancing, wearing your mask. It should also be protective of the people that go to work every day. Unfortunately, we still have a working class. So we need laws to protect the people that's on the jobs, to make sure that they still will have a job in the event that they are quarantined. We have to protect the offices that the people work in, and making sure everyone is abiding by the law with that. So I think that it's very important that we adhere to the CDC guidelines, and also make sure that corporations are protecting the workers. And I'm so sorry this is going blank in front of me. I don't know if I'm still on here or not. But those are the things that I would suggest. Pardon me?
No, you're fine. Go ahead. We'll give you another 10 seconds. I'm sorry.
Yes. So basically protect and having a legislation that would protect the employees on the jobs so that they can feel safe and secure if there's another wave that or epidemic that come about in this fall.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to go to Ms. Jackson.
Yes. So first and foremost, I would support legislation demanded that we immediately expand Medicaid. I think that that's absolutely essential to the well-being of Georgia. We need that whether or not there's a second wave of COVID-19 or not. I would also support legislation that would expand broadband. So what we've learned from this first wave of COVID-19 is that our children who are mostly living in brown and black communities, our rural children, have limited access to internet because of a lack of access to broadband. And so I would support any legislation that would bring broadband and make it accessible to all of our children who are in school and those who are also just trying to work from home. And then thirdly, I would support legislation that did mandate that people actually wear masks in public. I know that for some people that has proven to be really controversial, but I would absolutely support that type of legislation that would mandate that would also make sure that there was some mandates around PPEs being available for all frontline workers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, and Mr. Guam, I'm gonna stay with you on that same question. And again, the question was.
Mr. Freeman didn't get a chance.
Sorry about that, Mr. Freeman. Sorry. Then we'll come to you next, Mr. Guam. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I worry a little bit about, I would look, there's a difference between legislation and regulations. We have to protect the vulnerable. The assisted living homes, the hospitals, we certainly have to use as a priority because it hit them so bad. But as I'm sure everybody observed here, we closed down businesses, but yet you could still go to the grocery store. And I'm guessing the grocery stores probably, you saw people that had the worst chance of catching this disease more than any other group of people. They were dealing with the general public every day and in very close quarters ways. I would be scared of making legislation that would mandate one thing or another. You know, there was one report that said masks were good to wear. And then there was another report that said, don't wear the masks. And so I think we got to be very careful in the kind of legislation we put out, but we should absolutely do after action reports, take notes, what we did good, what we did bad, how we tracked the disease, and go from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Guam?
Okay, now for the same question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and this is a very important question because this first one, I think we better learn a very good lesson out of this. And I echo Mr. Freeman's comment on not only the grocery workers, we discovered so many professions that we didn't realize previously what their role is so essential to our society to keep going. And that include the garbage collectors and first responders, not even need to mention. And then these senior homes, because those are the most vulnerable citizens. So what I would say is we need to include these people when we identified as our first responder instead, and then they would be able to enjoy some of the benefit that they should have.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Guan, I'm going to stay with you because I feel like, you're the only person in here for Senate District 40. So I'm going to stay with you on this next question. So I'm paying real close attention here to our chat, and we're getting a lot of questions around, quite frankly, criminal justice reform, a lot about our prison systems. And so I want to come to you first. And so what would you do if elected senator to enhance criminal justice reform in the state of Georgia?
Yes, this is a long overdue that we need to have the criminal reform. And as a matter of fact, the federal government already passed that. And what I think we need to do is on the state level, we need to follow the suit, and we need to focusing on how we can re-educate these people and to reduce the incarceration, but also how to prevent readmission to the prison. And so as a society, we couldn't just by punishment to solve a lot of social problems, because some of the people may end up going to the prison is a better choice for them, because they couldn't make a living, couldn't find a job. So the society needs to change our mind on how we can, for the people who served their time, and how we can help readmit them to the society to be contributors.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right, I want to go to Senate District 43. And so Senator Anderson, I know you talked in a little bit in your comments about your second chance legislation and getting people's records restricted and giving them opportunity for a second chance. So talk to a little bit about what your criminal justice reform platform would be if reelected in the Senate.
So my criminal justice reform platform would be to continue to push for records restriction of pretty much all of those who have been pardoned by the Board of Pardon and Paroles. Because at that point, you've proven that you can be a member of society, a contributing member of society. So I would enhance that bill by adding that. I would also continue to push for programs that strengthen families, because we know when folks are separated from their families, that weakens the family bond. I would also continue to promote community service, and judges really have the authority now to choose to put people in programs versus prison. So I will continue to advocate for that at an all-time high. I mean, so that our numbers are not at an all-time high, that we keep communities strengthened and strong. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. Ms. Williams?
Yes, thank you. I also have a second chance Georgia initiative, but I think the most important legislation moving forward, if I'm elected, will be implementing the hate crime bill. Right now, you have over 300 cases reported as hate crimes in the state of Georgia. Annually. And out of those 300 cases, 92% are violent hate crimes, and 25% are violent hate crimes with weapons. And then there's an increase of hate crimes when it comes to a person's religion. So my legislation initiative, once I'm elected, will be implementing or pushing the hate crime bill in the state of Georgia, because right now Georgia does not have a hate crime bill. And I think it is much needed, because hate crimes is not the norm of what we think due to racism or a person's sex. I mean, this is overall hate from radical hate groups, and that are bringing in all types of behavior into the state. And okay.
No problem. That's okay. And I appreciate your patience. Okay.
You're welcome.
And so, again, I'm looking at the chat, and again, I want everyone to chime in here and make sure that we're sort of getting an opportunity for the audience to answer their questions. And so I want to go back to Senate District 10. And so, Senator Jones, you're a business owner, and I know that particularly in DeKalb County and other areas of Senate District 10, small businesses are hurting, and small businesses want to know how they're going to move forward sort of post-COVID-19. And so talk to us a little bit about what you're doing in the Senate, if reelected, to enhance the opportunity for small businesses to thrive in your district. And then Mr. Raeford will come to you after that when Senator Jones answers the question.
Thank you for that question. And I am a small business person for the last 28 years. And let me just tell you the number one problem with small businesses, and it's simple, it's access to capital. That is a problem that small business has been inflicted with prior to COVID. and I certainly don't see it getting any better after COVID-19. But if there's a change that we need to make changes in our banking system so that those that aren't bankable can be banked, so that those that do not have access to capital and may not have a very, very wealthy family member that can fund their businesses are able to get loans, so that, and particularly loans so that they can feed their own businesses. When I look at my own life and how I started my own business, it was not by anyone loaning me any money. It was by the fact that I had to save and borrow to the extent that I could just to get the initial down payment to purchase my own business. In addition to that, when we look at this COVID-19, we all got to recognize that the environment for our businesses have changed. And that environment needs to be addressed legislatively, and that's something I plan to be a part of.
Thank you. Again, sorry to cut you off, but we want to make sure we keep the time. All right, Mr. Raeford.
Yes, one thing is capital. So stimulus package for our small businesses. We just cut stimulus packets for this past stimulus package that we passed, and a lot went to large businesses, and some of those large businesses gave the money back. We have to have a stimulus package that's directly focused on small businesses. Also, once this is done, a lot of our restaurants are going to be affected because they're not going to be able to operate at full capacity. With that, we're going to have to look at what our leasing hikes and rent management, because rent management is gentrification. A lot of rents are going up. So putting rent prices, caps on things, so our small businesses can maintain the lease that they do have, and also a stimulus package until we're able to come up out of this. As Mr. Emanuel Jones said, also working with banks to be able to make sure that they can have enough funds to be able to manage through the end of this.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go back to Senate District 44. And after this, you guys, we're going to do closing remarks, because I definitely want to make sure that the NAACP invites me back, because we got a hard stop around 8 o'clock. And I know President Hardy is checking the time. So I want to make sure that we give everyone an opportunity to close out. But I want to go back to Senate District 44 with Senator Davenport, and we're also going to give him an opportunity for Myah Johnson to respond. And that is, I want to talk about infrastructure. I want to talk about transportation and transit. And so, Senator Davenport, talk a little bit about what you've been able to do in the Senate as a senator to really increase transit and transportation opportunities and infrastructure opportunities in Senate District 44. And then Myah, I want you to then chime in to talk about if you were elected, what would you do to build infrastructure and transportation/transit in Senate District 44?
Yes, we passed in the Georgia State Senate, in the General Assembly, we passed a big transportation bill a couple of years ago, and it came out of the House and came to the Senate, but there was no minority participation there. So we rejected that. And then when it came back again, and we got things in there to help minority business owners and female business owners, then we were able to pass that. One of the things that we worked with in Clayton County is to get the, since I've been in the Senate, is to get public transportation back in Clayton County. And now in DeKalb County, I've been trying to work with the elected officials and work with Moderator to try to make sure that we get commuter rail through South DeKalb and all the way to Stonecrest. I think that is important, and I think that's one of the things we need to do. And I'm there to fight for the citizens of DeKalb County and Clayton County to make sure that we get rail there, and also to make sure that these business owners, as a former business development director, been able to help people get business and get the infrastructure there in Clayton County and DeKalb County. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Johnson.
Yes, if I'm elected to become the next state senator, I will definitely pass legislation to ensure that we get more transportation here in Clayton County, because we do need to ensure that our people can get to and from work and things of that nature, and that they can pay their bills. So I will definitely come up with more funding to make sure that we have more transportation here in Clayton County, and or the wage if we need to help our citizens. whatever it takes to ensure that our citizens can get to and from, I will certainly be on board to do that, as I'm always for the people and helping them.
All right, thank you so much for that answer. So we got about 15 minutes left, and I want to be fair. And I think, again, we wanted to end at 8 o'clock. And so, President Hardy, I think if it's okay, I may ask the candidates to reduce their closing remarks to 1 minute, because I know we have 10 people here. And to be fair, I want to start with Senate District 41, because I know I didn't get a chance to come back to you guys with a series of questions. And so we want to start with Mr. William Freeman, Kim Jackson, and Beverly Jones. And then after that, Mr. Guam, if you can actually give a minute of closing remarks. So again, we're going to start with Senate District 41 with Mr. Freeman, Jackson, and then Jones, and then Mr. Guam.
Thanks again, everybody, for hosting this forum. I really enjoyed it, and it's been very informative to hear everybody what they had to say. I'm here to represent the 41st District from the outskirts of Avondale Estates all the way to Lilburn. There's 10 precincts in Gwinnett County. Some of the issues that are taking place. Because of sins in the past, we got major problems with watershed management. Water runoff, infrastructure is obsolete. It's affecting way beyond DeKalb County. Mass transit, which was talked about earlier, another major issue. We got a railroad that goes right through my district. I think I am the one who can bring tax money back to the district that's being used elsewhere. I can go to the governor's office. I can go to the lieutenant governor's office and the Senate leadership and can get these things. And I think I would be good for the 41st District to represent them, to get those items, get infrastructure development and commercial attractions back to the 41st where it's needed. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for having us for this forum. Again, my name is Kim Jackson. I'm running for Senate District 41. And I just want to take a moment to, first of all, acknowledge the NAACP's work in DeKalb County. I am a proud product of ACTSO. That I went to ACTSO and learned how to speak in public. So I hope I am showing that well here. But the one thing I want to conclude with is that COVID-19 has made it so clear what Black people already knew, that there are incredible disparities in the Black and brown communities in Georgia, and that 80% of us are being hospitalized and dying from this disease. And it's because we haven't expanded Medicaid. It's because we haven't provided for all of the disparities that Black people and brown people are experiencing. And so please know that I come ready to fight on behalf of those who are most vulnerable, for brown and Black citizens, to make sure that we get people out of prison, to put people back to work, and fundamentally that we provide for the health and safety of all citizens of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jones.
Yes, thank you again so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure to meet you all, as well as some of the other candidates that's running for the various districts. When I'm elected into office, I would certainly commit myself towards supporting small businesses and empowering the disenfranchised. I think that it's important with all the issues we've talked about: prison reform, mass transit, hate crimes. All those things is definitely needed in all of the districts, as well as the state of Georgia and around the U.S. I really think people want to be represented by someone who really understands their needs and values, and how to be an advocate for them in Congress. And I have that experience. I have worked with congressmen and people in the House, as well as city council members and mayors. So I have a strong diversity with groups that are undeniably identifiable. And I certainly am knowledgeable about the governmental policies and procedures. We have many issues in our state of Georgia and in our cities, but we have so many great things too that we can empower ourselves upon and grow upon. And that's what I want to work on, not just the things that are negative, but basically just help to grow our cities to be clean, safe, and beautiful.
Thank you, sister. Okay. No problem. All right, we're gonna go to Senate District 43. We're gonna go with Senator Anderson and then Ms. Williams.
Thank you. I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
So as I'm re-elected, I will continue to push for criminal justice reform, for those things that are important to our communities. Currently, because of where we are with COVID-19, I have been already working on getting funding to our community so that we can have supplies, so that we can have our numbers down from being the highest numbers in the county to educating our people on healthcare and having access and getting back to a viable, thriving community so that at the end of the day, we will have more businesses and a thriving state, so that we will have people with living wages and better jobs, so that we will have those things that matter to our communities the most, and so that people that we represent will be proud to say that my senator fights for me. And I look forward to getting back to work under the gold dome for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
Yes, thank you again for having me on this forum tonight. I am running for state senate to change minds and to save lives in 2020. I think it's time out for masquerading and not facing the real issues that Georgia is facing right now. And I just think that with the COVID-19, the pandemic here, our numbers are just top of the roof. And right now we need a vaccine here in Georgia. It's hard to think that after 40 years that we don't have a vaccine for AIDS. So it's kind of scary that, that we don't have a vaccine for COVID-19. But I am running for state senate to fight for the values and that DeKalb County deserves. Family values, Christian values, affordable health care, quality education, economic development is what DeKalb County and District 43 deserves and we need. So I'm going to be fighting very hard for my citizens. This is my second time running for state senate, but this time I am going to win and I'm going to bring change to District 43.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. We're going to Senate District 10. So we're going to start with Senator Jones and then Mr. Raeford.
Thank you, President Hardy and Tharon, for this event today. And let me just start off by saying that experience matters, proven leadership matters, but more importantly, a record of accomplishment that brings jobs, prosperity, and improved quality of life to DeKalb County are important as well. That's why we have $5.7 million in this year's budget to expand the technical college and training facility in Lithonia and South DeKalb. And this could not have been possible without the support of my colleague, Senator Davenport, and of course, Senator Tanya Anderson. But before I leave here today, it's extremely important for me to thank the constituents of Senate District 10 that's given their vote and their trust in me for these past 16 years. And I will continue to uphold their support and their loyalty and their vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator. Mr. Raeford.
First of all, I want to say thank you to the NAACP and all the candidates for coming out to share their platform. What I want to end on is basically my focus for running for office are the community, as far as Maurice for the community. Education, though, as far as restructuring our education system so that our kids can come out of these tier 1 schools that we have, and putting STEM, allocating more funds towards STEM, that way they're ready for the job market once they do graduate. Looking at economics with small businesses and how we're gonna fund those currently in COVID-19, post-COVID-19, and further on so we can catch up as a community. And also looking at criminal justice reform with legalization of so many of our men being arrested for those crimes. And I just want to represent our community and make sure that we're getting what we need. I can be found on Maurice for the Community and at gmail.com. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna go to Senate District 44. We're gonna start with Senator Davenport and then we're gonna go to Ms. Johnson.
Thank you very much. Let me thank the NAACP for always being on the forefront of all the issues and keeping us informed. Thank the citizens of DeKalb County so much for your support over the years. Things that are important to me and I will continue to fight for, healthcare, certainly the disparities in our community concerning that. Of course, the criminal justice system, making it fair, dealing with the advocating for drug courts, and also advocating for mental health, because we have a lot of disparities in that. A booming economy with small businesses in mind, and also raising the minimum wage, and then an excellent education system. I think that these things are important, and the important thing is no matter where you live in the state of Georgia or in what district, a good quality of life is what you want, and I'm prepared to continue to fight for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Ms. Johnson.
I asked the citizens of DeKalb County and within the 44th district to vote for me so that I can deter this underemployment by working with Commissioner Mark Butler. It's too many people in our community that are underemployed and unemployed. I would like to also implement a sex trafficking task force. Georgia's, I think, #1 for human trafficking out here. We need a task force for that. I want to bring the Boys and Girls Club back to our community to deter this gang violence. We need that, which nobody is hitting on that. Healthcare is very important. I do want to do things to change our healthcare system. I want to also implement the Hardest Hit Fund again, which is the $32 million program through the U.S. Department of Treasury, state funded through the Georgia Department of Community Affairs to help those struggling homeowners. So I ask the people of DeKalb County and the people within the 44th district to vote for me because those are things that I'm very passionate about that needs to be done, that the leaders that I feel have not done. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much. I want to make sure I got everyone, right?
No.
I did that on purpose. So candidate Guan, I see you took advantage of the chat to put your information out there. I did that on purpose. So why don't you close us out, and then when Mr. Guan is finished, we're going to kick it back over to Mr. Hammonds to close us out with President Hardy as well.
Thank you for the facilitator and the organizer of this event. I greatly appreciate. And I'm a professional translator and interpreter and small business owner, entrepreneur, and active Rotarian for a long, long time. And above all, I'm a dedicated father of 2 teenagers in the public school, and I'm a dedicated husband. Coming from China in 1987, I immediately embraced the American culture and heritage. And since I moved to Georgia in 1992, I have been passionate volunteer and leader with a number of organizations from Asian American Resource Center, Partnership for Community Actions, National Family in Action, as well as Atlanta Association of Interpreters and Translators, and the list goes on. And I'm a longtime member of Rotary Club of North Atlanta, used to be called North Dekalb. And I'm passionate about being able to contribute, and promoting understanding and unity has been the hallmark of my life. And I will share the interest and concern of the diverse constituents.
All right. Okay, thank you. And again, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
that's all right.
That's no problem.
I always have more to say.
Well, you definitely got your comments in the chat, so you definitely took advantage of your time. But anyway, thank you all so much for participating in this forum. And with that, I'm going to kick it back over to Mr. Hammonds and then President Hardy for the both to close us out. But thank you all so much, and good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tharon.
Thank you, Tharon. Thank you, Tharon.
Thank you for guiding us through this this forum and asking the tough questions and getting the answers. I want to thank all the candidates for participating. A lot of talent that we have in our community. But most of all, I want to thank you all for having the courage to step up and serve our community. We'd like to just say that our next forum is on the 14th at 6:30. It'd be for the judges and tax commissioners. So just stay tuned, keep joining us, and tell more folks to join the effort. And now I'll turn it over to President Hardy to close us out.
I was on mute. All right, another great forum. Thank you all for participating, the candidates and our attendees. I hope everyone was informed tonight. I do want to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor is Georgia ACT, which is A is for advancing, C is for communities together. They help to fund our forums. We have a total of 8 candidate forums that we're focusing on for the local elections for June 9th. I also want to identify and acknowledge our co-partners, Stone Mountain Delta Sigma Theta, the National Coalition of Negro Women, the National Coalition for 100 Black Women, Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, Omega Psi Phi Incorporated, and all our DeKalb County churches. We really appreciate all of you supporting us. And if you're not a member of the NAACP, please join us today. I think it's in the chat, the link to the chat. On that, we need your membership. There is a total of 750,000 people that we support and advocate for. And today, with all that's going on as it relates to Ahmaud and any of our issues that we've been working on, such as criminal justice reform, excellent education for all our students, as well as getting wage increases for the citizens of Georgia, we need your help in keeping this fight going forward. So if you are not a member, join today. If you want to give the membership to someone who's not a member, please do that. That is the greatest gift during the COVID-19. And with that, I am going to go ahead and end this. Mr. Hammonds has told us what we need to do for Thursday. If you have not registered for that, please go to our website at naacpdekalb.org and you can join us on Thursday. Look forward to seeing everyone and have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.